Hello, my name is Juanita Pérez, and today I'm going to talk about the role of the Union of Journalists of Cuba, or known in Spanish as UPEC. Mainly, I'll talk about his congresses and the problems that the organization has had to protect the free press in the island. And I'm going to answer this question, that is how the Union of Journalists of Cuba has tried to establish a free press under the control of the Communist Party since 1963. So let's start with a bit of history. In 15th of July of 1963, the first Congress of the Union of Journalists of Cuba took place. The organization was established as a result of the union of the press that were together in the National College of Journalists, the Association of Reporters of Havana, the Press Association from Cuba, and hundreds of small organizations that brought together reporters, correspondents, photographers, cameramen, and comedians. So since that day, its principal goal is to organize the journalists' will for the defense of the Cuba Revolution, the national independence, and the exercise of the profession. And also, the Union of Journalists of Cuba is against the hegemonic practices of the transnational information companies, media terrorism, manipulation, and the silence of the truth. The Cuba state recognized this organization in the Article 14 of the Constitution of the Republic that expressed this. This state recognizes and encourages mass and social organization which groups together different sectors of the population, represents their specific interest, and they incorporate them into the task of building, consolidating, and defending socialist society. The 15th and the 16th of November of 1996, the second Congress of the organization was held. In the second Congress, the UPEC tried to plan the professional development. They talk about the principles and statutes were examined. And also the creation of journalist awards was proposed. In this year, 1986, the UPEC received threats and attacks because they were giving information, but the organization continued thinking that communication had to be wide and that disturbing silence shouldn't be maintained. So, until 1991, the Soviet Union provided Cuba with substantial political and military support. And the socialist bloc was the island's main trading power. And this relationship guaranteed a minimum level of economic security and the satisfaction of Cuban basic needs. But in this year, in 1993, the Soviet Union collapsed, and this is one of the most important years for the UPEC, because the former socialist countries severed trade and financial relationships with Cuba, forcing severe adjustments on the island, and the Cuban journalist was forced to become the journalist of the resistance. Therefore, in the Sixth Congress, the Cuban society, along with the journalists, decide to resist, fight, and win to have free journalism. Afterward, the UPEC continued making congresses, and his struggle to have analytic journalism about the problems of the country, and to help to live in a socialist society. So in 1999, a new problem for the journalism appeared, that were the new technologies. That implied a challenge for the profession because social networks were started transforming the public and making more demands on those who consider themselves communication professionals. Thus, in the 7th Congress of the UPEC, that were from the 13th to the 17th of March of that year, the UPEC decided to encourage and to support the assimilation of technological advance in the press and in the science. In the last of all, in the 10th Congress, the UPEC was dedicated to debate on the operation of the organization, ethics, and communication. They also talk about innovation and new technologies and content management. It marks a turning point in the life of the organization because the communication policy of the organization was approved. So, saying all this, we can conclude that the Union of Journalists of Cuba has tried to make the exercise of the profession as a space to ratify the will to do better journalism that especially defends the nation and the interest of the Cuban people. And that's it. Thank you.